And the site plan was helpful too.
I'm like a mod. I like to be able to visualize. Makes it a lot simpler.
Yeah, for me too.
All right.
Never come home.
Adjourn until 6.
Do we have a motion? Do we need a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn this meeting, Madam Chairman.
All in favor? We will adjourn until 6 o'clock, which is in 7 minutes. 6 o'clock. And welcome to the, is it the second September meeting of the Design Review Board? The purpose is to review applications for certificates of appropriateness for construction, alteration, demolition, and relocation of structures in Aiken's historic districts in an effort to help Aiken restore its historic character. We'll begin by reviewing, well, we will not review minutes from the previous meeting because it was only 2 weeks ago. We'll look at those at our next meeting. And then we'll ask the applicants to come up and please say your name and address. Oh yes, the staff reading it first. Then the applicant comes up and gives any comments that they would like. Then the board deliberates. And then we ask for comments from the public, our audience. And we ask that people that do come up and speak, we limit it to 5 minutes so everyone has a chance to speak.
Item A under Old Business, application number CERH24-057. Applicant Ladonna Armstrong is requesting approval to construct new walls and accessory structures and conduct various alterations at 408 South Boundary Avenue Southeast. Tax map parcel 121-09-06-007. The following alterations are proposed. Construct a new brick wall along Union Street and South Boundary. The proposed new wall will stand 4 feet tall along Union Street and half of the South Boundary Avenue property line. The remainder property line along South Boundary Avenue will stand 6 feet tall. The wall is proposed to consist of Moultrie brick from Watsontown brick in a running bond. Install a pedestrian gate and fence within the property to separate the existing cottage and proposed new covered outdoor kitchen and porch from the remainder of the property. A new pedestrian gate is also proposed to be installed along South Boundary Avenue. A 6-foot wood fence is also proposed, painted Charleston green or left natural, to be constructed on the north and east property lines. The wood fencing on this property is proposed to be a 6-foot tall dog-eared privacy fence. It is proposed to either be left natural or painted Charleston green. Construction of a new 20-foot by 20-foot carport with a 20-foot by 12-foot storage shed attached to the rear of the new carport. The proposed materials are as follows: 8-inch lap fiber cement board siding painted Sherwin-Williams pure white, wood supporting columns wrapped in cement board with brick veneer bases, architectural shingles, metal roof overhangs, and bronze half-round gutters. Another shed located elsewhere on the property is proposed to be removed. Construct a 20-foot by 20-foot outdoor kitchen and covered porch in front of the existing accessory residential structure. The proposed materials will match those on the existing guest house, such as wood shingles. New brick paver driveway is also proposed. The new driveway is proposed to consist of the same brick proposed for the new walls, Moultrie brick from Watsontown brick, in a running bond. A 6-foot tall dark aluminum gate is proposed to be installed at this location. The gate will be dark bronze, and 5 feet tall, 1-foot 4-inch square brick columns will be located on each side of the gate. A new wood door is proposed to be installed at the front entrance of the primary structure, along with side lights. Install a new 6-inch half-round dark bronze gutters. Install raised panel wood grain PVC shutters. The proposed new shutters will be painted Sherwin-Williams Wythe blue and will have black wrought iron hardware. Install wood railing between the existing columns on the primary residence right side porch. The railing will be 3 feet tall and will consist of 1-inch pickets spaced 4 inches apart. This is a non-contributing property located in the Historic Overlay District, specifically Historic District 2, and is zoned RS-15 single family. The Aiken County Assessor's website lists the construction date of the primary structure as 1963 and the construction date for the accessory building residence as 2017. This property does not have a historic resource survey card. An administrative waiver was issued permitting a minimum 4-foot setback from the rear property line for the proposed new carport and shed, as well as a minimum 9-foot setback for the proposed new covered outdoor kitchen and porch. Additionally, the site plan indicated a potentially proposed pool. The applicant has not yet determined all the details concerning the pool proposal and therefore has chosen to not include a pool in this application. The applicant plans to submit a separate certificate of appropriateness application for a pool at a later date. And I believe LaDonna is here to represent.
Ladonna Armstrong, 139 Greenville Street Northwest.
Isn't there a gable that faced the street, or am I?
No,
No,
this
it's
is
always-
this is the same thing that was at a work session in July and then was at the last meeting 2 weeks ago. The September meeting.
Okay.
There was a change in the size of the carport or something since.
No, carport has not changed.
Well, I'm looking at, it was at the work session, 14 by 20, the storage shed amount.
The
is-
storage shed,
Okay, something had changed.
2 feet.
Yeah.
We made it smaller.
But I was trying to see, this was the work session that, there was the complex or the complicated one where there was a concern that about notice about at that time, but it's not relevant to right now, but I have the packet if you want to look at it.
Faith, I have a couple of questions.
Yes?
Yeah.
Questions?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I've got a couple of questions. On the, you were talking about a new pedestrian gate, is proposed along south boundary. That's approaching the front, the main front door, I assume. Okay. What, you have any details on that gate?
There's a picture of it. It is,
So it's a wrought iron
on
gate?
page 13. That one right there, it's wrought iron.
Yeah. So that's a wrought iron gate, and how tall is that?
We hadn't determined it. Was to look like that. I would say no more than 5 feet with it going up, because the gate approaching, the wall approaching that area would be 4 feet tall. So then it would go up, and then starting on the other side, it'd be a 6-foot wall. Or not quite there. I think it's just a little bit down a ways, that then it would be 6 feet.
And you mentioned also, at least in the material that we have, that there is a new brick driveway proposed.
Yes.
Okay. Now, how far does that go up to the carport? Does it go beyond the carport?
The carport would be a 4-inch slab, concrete slab, so it would go to the face.
It would stop at the carport, that's
Would
what I
stop
meant.
at the carport.
Okay.
And it would go to the left. It goes down into a curve for another parking space within the property. Do you see that?
Oh, I didn't notice that before. On the other side of on the back side of the carport, near the cottage, near existing cottage, is that right?
The brick?
No, the extra parking place. Okay.
It's hard to see in that,
It really is hard to see.
why she gave us the other.
Yeah,
That's
okay.
better.
And then you mentioned that you were gonna have a 6-foot tall dark aluminum gate to be proposed right before you get on at that location.
I didn't hear what, just 6-foot high what?
Dark
there?
aluminum gate
Yes.
to be proposed, okay. And then,
It's pickets. It's like the one in the picture. I did, in that drawing, it doesn't have the foot band at the bottom. The drawings that I gave you today, it does, but it looks like the one in the picture.
okay, and then on either side of that, that attaches to the 4-foot wall
Yes.
on both sides.
On both sides. The columns.
And then you also mentioned about a fence that's going to be installed within the property itself.
Yes.
And
Site plan.
I don't know, it doesn't mention in here what that fence is to be, how tall it is, or any details about it. Pardon me?
It wasn't necessarily determined, it's to keep dogs out, so 4 to 6 feet. It would be 4 feet then.
Can you come up to the podium and state your name and address, please?
Marie Smith, 408 South Boundary. And it would just be
3 feet?
3 feet, like aluminum fence, just to keep the dogs in that portion of the yard so they can't get all the way around.
Okay.
So it would just run.
Any other questions?
Yeah, Madam Chairman, may I make a comment or observation?
Mm-hmm.
As reflected in the previous work session, there's a lot of uncertainty. 3 feet, 4 feet, 5 feet, 6 feet. Gate here, not reading the plans correctly. Plans up to interpretation. I say all that to say this. Even as what one would consider a professional in the building industry, as some would call myself, this is quite confusing. And I would ask for site plans with the elevations so that I wouldn't have any doubts and make it any clearer. You talk about running bond, you talk about Fleming bond, you talk about all these different types of masonry items, that details. I definitely would like to see the project go on, but I think there's too many questions to with the data that we have tonight to make a decision this important. As I have reflected through and viewed the packet, viewed the location, perform a walk down site visit, there are still considerations I have. I wouldn't even feel comfortable voting on this tonight.
Thank you.
You're quite welcome, Madam Chairman.
I'd like to talk about the elephant in the application, which is the carport. In our guidelines on page 93, Exhibit J, setback and placement. New buildings should conform to the setback, placement, and spacing patterns of structures within the context. I drove up, what's the side street? That Union, thank you. And on the same side of the street, there is a carport at the gray-blue building at the corner of Colleton and Union, and it fits in. So that's a good example, but it is a one car. It's not a two car. It also isn't, the drawing's a little bit deceiving because the grade is indicated at -2, and then you have the beam, I think that's pointing to the lowest part of the beam, 7.4, so that's 9.4. That's really, and then the roof is it's just really big. It's very, and look how it's touching, that, it just doesn't get any, it feels very squished into that. And then looking at the peak of the roof aligns with the dormer on the roof, the existing dormer. If we can look at the context photos, it's that the neighbor's roof almost aligns with the dormer edge on site. So that's a really big structure to fit in there. So I don't think it meets the setback and placement requirements stated in our guidelines. But I still think, a carport could go there. It could be pushed back more. It could be a one-car carport. It could be lower. Because it's exceedingly high, and I was wondering, are you putting a camper in there or something? Or, So, just some things to look at.
So then would it be possible to get a continuance so that we could address that and the other issues that you guys have brought up that would convey a more accurate representation? And if you would let me know what items, since this is our third time back specifically, that you would like. If it's elevations of the wall or building sections of the wall, we have elevations of the actual accessory buildings. But anything else that would, and a landscape plan, I heard you say that.
Right. Landscape plan, elevations and details of the, not construction details, but how it looks, the fencing. The,
Of all the types of fencing.
yeah. Mm-hmm. What, and you have shown what goes where. If you can do a three-dimensional view of the carport, that would be really helpful. But if not, could you possibly do a context,
Yes, I can do that.
you know, draw the house next door,
Next
just in
door.
outline?
And put Photoshop the building in, yes.
Yeah, try
Absolutely.
to get it to scale. That would be my suggestion.
Of just the union side?
Of just the what?
Union side?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Because that'll give us an idea of the volume that you're talking about. But I can tell you,
We'll look at
if it
the
comes
massing.
back, I mean, we've said the same things, like it's too large, it feels squished. You know, it feels like it doesn't fit the site. You know,
Well-
these are things that we've said previously, so.
Well, we had considered making it part of the building. Is that an option, tying it in?
Well, that's your, yeah, of course. That's your decision. Mhm. This is a, you know, a non-contributing building, so that would address the water issues possibly.
The scale to the
Mhm.
the cottage next door.
Right.
Yeah,
Well, what's interesting, it is non-contributing, but there's still are guidelines that need to be followed with, thank you. I always forget to turn the mic on. Like especially with additions, for instance, it says, for non-contributing structures, the commission's primary concern will be the impact of the design change on the district, not just the site, but on the district or the site. Such additions should not dominate or clash with old buildings nearby. And if you look under, and I know you're familiar with the guidelines, Ladonna, so I don't probably need to tell you about them, but I mean, under new buildings as well, I think it would be worthwhile to review those when you're, because basically those guidelines want this board to ensure that new buildings will be in harmony with the style, form, proportion, texture, and arrangement of old structures nearby. And that's important. It's not just the site that we're looking at, it's the whole district, because that's, you know, it may be non-contributing, but it's still in a very iconic historic district, the South Boundary area, and it's very visible from the street. So it would just be good to look at that. And the new buildings start at 91 and the additions start on page 85.
Madam Chairman,
Yes.
I notice here that the front door is gonna be a mahogany stain. Okay, but you have other doors that are gonna be added to the property, and you have down that you're gonna paint them.
Painted white.
Yeah, white. Is there a reason for the white?
That's what most of the doors are on the property.
Okay.
That was just the front door that they would like to have as the mahogany to
And the
warm up that entryway.
Right, and when we're dealing with the shutters, which are used, you know, I know they're putting them on there to give some additional dimensions to the front. You've got them painted a very, very light blue.
Yes, they had found another house in the neighborhood that was white with the same color blue shutters that they very much enjoyed, so they wanted to
Now,
replicate that.
unusual not to see green shutters, in Aiken. I know there are a few that are scattered around, but we're right on South Boundary, and, most of the ones that, I know are a Charleston green or a black green color, so just a question.
Okay.
The proportion of the shutters is incorrect. Can we look at the elevation, please? Yeah, they should be the size, of half the window. So they look like, they,
True windows.
true,
True shutters.
yeah. So, otherwise they look like, they're just pasted onto the wall, the exterior wall. Does anyone have comment? Well, I believe we would also like to see, since it's going to be exposed, what the kitchen is going to be like under the cover. Is that
Okay.
going to be brick or wall or something, or? It's-
Which part of it, the flooring or the wall
It looked
itself?
like there was a kitchen, covered outdoor kitchen and porch. Is there something built in there or no?
There will be a kitchen counter there. It's on
Outdoor
the, on
kitchen,
the plan up in
Mhm.
the top right corner. The
Right.
back wall on the side facing the porch would be like a white shiplap. Wall on the back of the porch would be the wood shingles to match the existing building. There's no upper cabinets or anything. It's just the counter and the
Workspace.
workspace.
It would be good to have an elevation showing that if you want.
In the packet I gave you today, it has that
Has that
elevation.
elevation? Oh,
Okay, if you look at that, and if you would like more than what's shown there, if you'd let me know, I'd be happy to provide it for you.
the packet you gave us today, right? Right. Oh, I'm talking about, did you do all of this stuff?
It's,
Oh, I'm talking about the side that faces the neighbors.
okay. You would see that, it would be the front cottage elevation, you would see, it's just a portion of it.
Right. I just wonder, are there any windows over there or
There's no windows in that wall
at all?
at all.
So it's just a big blank wall in the back.
Yes.
Okay. Alright. And that's another one that's it's because the extension doesn't have any relationship to the house in terms of, I know it's like arbitrary how far it comes out. It might be a programmatic thing, but it doesn't align like with the front of the house or a column on the porch or anything like that. So it's very hard to visualize in that regard. So
I'm
there-
unclear of what you're saying, that there's,
the extension of the covered porch coming out towards Broadway doesn't have any relationship to the house in terms of where it stops. Like, I was trying to make sense of it. Does it align with one of the columns on the porch, or does it align with the front of the house? No, it doesn't. That would bring it out even farther. So,
yeah, that would bring it out even further.
but it makes it really hard to kind of visualize it in terms of its volume as it gets closer to Broadway. So is there a way to show us that?
Is that new buildings really should be consistent with the old ones and have some sort of context, and the outbuildings from the primary structure needs to be harmonious with the primary structure. And so consequently, I don't know that you reach that with at least from what we're seeing now. So that would be a concern going
Well,
forward.
this existing cottage doesn't relate too much with the main house. house. They
No,
built,
but then when you add the addition to it to extend the roof, it accentuates that.
They're making it more evident, like, and
Makes it
taking
more
trees
evident.
down and,
Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely gonna be more evident.
Madam Chairman, there is a change, I think, the one thing that was consistent between the main house and the cottage was the fox. And it's not, has it been removed? Is it?
if you look in the new packet that you have today, the fox is in there.
It isn't?
It is.
It is.
Okay, it wasn't
I
in
noticed that.
even on
And
the,
then also
it's
the,
not there. There's one on the cottage and the house, right?
Mm-hmm.
if you look in the packet I gave you today, it's there.
But it wasn't on the one we had earlier, I'm sorry.
It
And
always is intended to be there, just I needed to,
But
draw
it's not the fox on the cottage either.
on the one side.
I
No,
see now.
didn't
You
insert it
corrected
on
the
one
one.
side. I'll make sure I insert it on the one side.
Okay, I'm just,
Also,
I
the-
had
the
looked at the
columns-
older, or the
the-
ones we got
The
for today.
columns we are proposing for the outdoor kitchen do tie, they are what's on the porch now. And so that was a way to bring those same
Right.
12-foot columns over to that side and tie into the carport as well.
Right. Mm-hmm.
There's not, I mean, with it just being a porch addition, it's roof and columns.
And why are you taking off the canopy to the porch? Because it's redundant?
Yeah. And
It's gonna be a
it's
big-
corrugated metal and it's
Uh-huh.
not, it's not the best. We're gonna reuse the brackets on the side of where the storage shed,
Oh, right.
where we're
That little-
proposing
yeah.
a little overhang over there.
It's a big area there. But are you gonna keep what's there? You know, are you gonna keep the fox like on that elevation and then put another one forward?
No, we'll most likely probably move that one out.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's one on this elevation here, and then there's one on the front of the house.
Mm-hmm.
So with taking into consideration the massing of the carport and this extension of the cottage and how they relate to the house and getting the proportions right, the elevations of the different types of walls, a context photo of Union, and then a context photo of the addition with the front of the house with the cottage addition, and maybe looking at the side with how the cottage comes out and the existing house, a context photo looking
Yeah.
that way.
That would be great.
Okay. Is there anything else that you can think of? And a landscape plan.
And a landscape.
I've got
yeah.
a question. You know, one thing that really can be a very difficult thing for us to answer questions on is how long is it going to take a project to be completed? You know, we see things that drag on, and my phone rings, and I'm sure theirs does too. How long are we going to have to look at this construction taking place? Have you got an idea of when you're given the okay to start the project, about how long it will take and what the
Hopefully right away. We already have
Okay.
a contractor engaged,
okay?
and so we are waiting on approval from you guys.
Will you do everything at one time? I mean, will it be
Yes. The only thing is that the pool will have to go to the BZA because it's in the front yard.
Right.
And so that is a longer process, so we decided to hold off on that right now. But as far as the walls and then the extension of the cottage and the carport would be pretty immediate.
Well, the one thing that you've done that is just paramount if you're thinking about putting a pool in is to have good safety in there, because it's your insurance company is going to look at there and on inspection, and they don't see a fence around that pool, they're going to say, see you later.
Yes.
So that's a good thing.
Yes.
If the pool is not in the front yard, like you don't get that, would you change the outdoor kitchen area?
That's a possibility. They haven't looked at too much of what that, I mean, they've considered it in the backyard, and with dogs and everything, that makes it a little bit difficult.
One of the
I know the porch can go, the pool can go in the side yard as long as it's behind the face of the house.
Right.
So that could be a possibility.
Mm-hmm.
I guess they'd have to weigh the outdoor area versus the pool.
Mm-hmm. Then the fencing could actually go, you wouldn't have to fence off that part of the front yard. But it's your call. Something to consider.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't want there to be any mistake, because I personally, I can't speak for the whole board, but I personally, I appreciate that you're going to go back and look at it again under some of the things that we've suggested, but there's a lot that you're going to be doing in a very small site. And you just got to remember that whatever you do there, it shouldn't look crowded and overbuilt. That's not what the district is all about. And that concerns me a great deal, because if we allow it for one, we allow it for all, and then we end up changing the whole context of the whole district up and down South Boundary.
Yes.
And so I think it's very important for you and your owners to understand that as you go forward. I can't tell you what to do. That's your choice. But that's why I suggested very much that, you revisit, because I know you're familiar with our guidelines, revisit the guidelines, especially the ones for new buildings and additions, because it's very clear what they're looking for. And I don't see it in this present plan. And that bothers me.
It is a half-acre lot, and it's very large, and with the way the house is situated, it's so far back, which is unusual for the neighborhood. Most of the houses are.
And that should be, and that's one of the things that the guidelines drive home, is that one of the things that need to be considered and should have a huge influence on the design that you create on your property is the size of the site. And so you really need to take that into consideration going forward, because that's a very firm guideline in our that we have to adhere to.
Any other questions? Comments? Yes?
So with that, could we get a continuance to provide this and relook?
We need to ask for comments from
Okay. Thank you.
from the room. Is there anyone that would like to address? Yes, please.
Hi, Linda Johnson, 515 Parkside Drive. First of all, I can appreciate the applicant's dilemma. There are a lot of things they'd like to do with the property, and it's hard to fit everything in there. I will comment about the fact that this house is supposedly set far back. Actually, down at that end of South Boundary, a lot of the houses are set farther back from the street. They all kind of had that feel to them. But I'd like to comment on a couple of things. First, page 96 of the guidelines says open space should be retained. Now, it's not saying you always have to, retain all of it, but, that's something important. We're filling this space with all the things that the applicant would like to do. With respect to the carport, when I look at the diagram, and I was out there on the site visit with you, the carport is pushed right to the front of the edge of the house there. Why could it not be moved back and you might have to get rid of the shed and that extra deck there. But it could be put back because page 97 of the guidelines says that garages, carports should be inconspicuous. It doesn't say you can't have them, but they should be inconspicuous. And, you know, you might have to give up a couple of things and push that carport back. And you could still have it then. But I do have a concern about the design of the carport. That roof is really steeply pitched, and the way that it's aligned is at 90 degrees to the alignment of the house roof. So now you have the face of that roof coming down at you while you have the gable of the house, and it looks pretty incongruous. It doesn't really seem to fit, and I'm not sure what the right answer is, a flat roof or something that's not as steep. But it's almost like the garage competes with the house on that side by having that steep roof. And while the cupola is kind of cute, I'm not sure you really see that a lot in the neighborhood. The walls. We've talked about walls at the last meeting. I won't repeat everything I said, but South Boundary is iconic. And we are trying to preserve its iconic nature. I get it. There's a house nearby, across Union, that has, looks like about a 5.5, 6 foot wooden fence. But in general, on South Boundary, walls are either non-existent or 3 to 4 feet. So they want to have their pool there, possibly in the future, and that's where that 6 foot section of wall is coming in. I guess I don't see why it couldn't be a 4 foot wall, and if they need more privacy for the pool, put some shrubs growing up behind the wall. You know, other people do that. They put shrubs behind their walls, but have a lower wall. So not only would that kind of be more in keeping with the general character of South Boundary, but it also would keep it from that kind of weird, you know, going from 4 feet and jumping up to 6 feet. And then it wouldn't look so incongruous with the house just further on that doesn't have any kind of wall at all. Actually, that was it. So, thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Hi, my name is Jeff Smith, 408 South Boundary. I just wanted to make some clarity marks. It's actually kind of ironic on the triptych here of the painting is the actual wall that we're proposing, which is on the corner of Sumter and South Boundary, Rob Johnson's house. And the reason that it goes up there is to provide some privacy. So that's kind of the main reason that we wanted to kind of emulate the neighborhood. We wanted to make it look like something that would be beautiful enough to make it on the artwork here in this room here today. And so that's going to be very, very low throughout, so the whole house will not be obstructed by any of the wall. It will only go up as it goes past the house, so that way you still see the full face of the house. As far as the extension over the existing cottage, there is no alignment that goes up toward the house, but the reason it was going out 20 feet was to give adequate space to actually use that area so that we could have play areas for the kids, have an outdoor eating area. That shade is something that's very important to me, and so as a dermatologist, and I see a bunch of skin cancer, kind of about 2,000 of them last year, I definitely want my kids to be outside of screen time, playing. If the pool does get built there, I want to have a place where they can be in the shade outside of the pool. So that explains, I guess, a little bit about the sizing of the 20 by 20. But it does not have any correlation to the house. We didn't want it to come out any further than that. That was about the minimum that we could bring it out that we thought would be effective. So okay. I don't know if that helps your question or not, but there was no line that it went to the house that I know of.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Any other comments? Any comments from the board? Is there a motion for this
Yeah, he's got-
application?
you've got
Oh,
some-
is-
Hi, I'm David Blake, 621 Magnolia. And I'm glad to hear you all struggle with all these proposals. You know, it really is a lot to put on one place. You know, I hope you can come to some conclusion that's a little bit different than what's proposed. I mean, there were lots of ideas that were thrown out. I really appreciate what you had to say, Faith, and others. But the wall, you know, I know that there's one wall like that, but if we allow every single person to have a 6-foot wall, or somebody proposed an 8-foot wall, you know, and as someone said, one begets the other, you know, gosh, this is really iconic. You know, there are pictures, when people think of Aiken, it's all about this road, and to just wall it off, I think you're creating a cumulative impact, a long-term adverse effect to the integrity of that iconic road, historic road. And I'd ask you to really consider, you know, trying to lower it somehow, or doing something that wouldn't cause this to be walled off all along the whole road for the future for all of us. We all live here. We're all so proud of it. When I have people visit me, it's one of the first things people want to see. And if we just wall it all off, and I appreciate you wanting a pool and all these other variances, but I just hate to criticize your architect, but these things just don't really conform well, and they're not in harmony as the guidelines require. And we all live here, and what these people are charged to do is protect our property values. When you start changing these things to this degree, and then the one across the street and down the street, you know, this really gets out of control and out of hand for all of us. And I ask you to really, you know, try to reconsider this. And are you an architect, by the way? Are you? I am. Okay, great. The landscape architect. Right. Okay, well, anyway, thanks.
Thank you. Any other comments? Comments from the board? Is there a motion?
Yeah, Madam Chairman, I'll make a motion that, in reference to application CERH 24-057, at the request of the applicant, I suggest to the board that we grant them a continuance until such time as they can make the needed changes and make another presentation to us.
I second that motion.
All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed? Motion moved.
Item A, under new business, application number CERD 24-001092. Applicant Glen Dehart is requesting approval to construct an addition and conduct various alterations at 1003 Colleton Avenue Southeast, tax map parcel 121-10-14-001. The applicant is proposing the following alterations. Construct a family room addition on the right side of the house. The hardy plank siding, black architectural shingled roof, and window materials proposed for the addition are to match those on the existing structure. The proposed windows are white composite windows with full divided lights from Anderson Woodwright windows. There are a variety of windows within the existing structure. The living room and den at the front of the structure have double hung wood windows with a heavy plexiglass panel installed over their exterior. These windows have deteriorated and are no longer operable. The hallway, second bathroom, and primary bathroom have vinyl-clad windows that have internal grids. 4 are double hung while the last is a casement window. The primary bedroom and kitchen contain vinyl double-hung windows with grids between the glass. A portion of the addition is proposed to be constructed over part of the existing deck, which was built in 2020. Besides this, no additional modifications are proposed to be made on the deck. The door that exits onto the deck currently has a shed roof, which is proposed to be removed and replaced with a reverse gable. Replace a section of aluminum siding with hardy plank siding. Most of the siding on the house consists of hardy plank. However, a section at the front corner of the house and under the porch roof consists of aluminum siding. The applicant is proposing to replace the aluminum siding with hardy plank that will match the remainder of the house. Install a new front door with side lights along Colleton Avenue. Repair the porch steps and apply a skim coat. Replace the existing columns and ceiling on the front porch, and replace the aging fence on the property in kind. The new fence will match the existing in style, color, height, and location. Replacements in kind are considered routine maintenance and do not require approval through a certificate of appropriateness. This property is located in the Old Aiken Overlay District and is zoned RS-15 single family. The Aiken County Assessor's website lists the construction date of the structure as 1952. The Aiken Historic Resource Survey card lists the construction date as circa 1910. The applicant has submitted updated drawings that correct the size of the windows. This was added as Exhibit K. Copies are available outside of council chambers. And I believe our applicants are here.
Hello.
If you'd like to come to the podium to speak.
I'm Scott McLeod, and 1003 Colleton.
And I'm Rebecca Lula, 1003 Colleton Avenue. Oh, we're supposed to say something?
You don't have to.
If you'd like to add anything.
The only thing I wanted to add, I don't know if it shows up on your documents, but Marion Van Eyck is our architect, and I don't know if you know her, but we've worked with her like for 4 or 5, 6 years trying to think about, we just need a little bit more room in the house. It's kind of a funky house that, as you can tell, it's got that L-shaped lot. And anyhow, so
Well, and I think also there's a hodgepodge, as you heard. There's a hodgepodge. We have aluminum siding, we have multiple windows, we have storm windows in the front. And I think part of it also is we really want to clean the house up a little bit just on the exterior to make it all match. Feel like one.
But the most important thing is the trees on our property are fabulous.
Yes.
And we don't want to do anything. We want a little bit more room in the house, but we don't want to do anything with the trees. And we won't. So
And that's one of our constraints. If you look in the back there, you can see that we
Right.
can never use the L shape. We run into trees, but they're important and it keeps the house.
yeah, and actually, the trees show up better in the photographs. I guess you guys all
Yeah.
probably know our house.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Oh,
Can I ask a question, Madam Chairman?
Yes.
This is strictly off the record, but wasn't there a barn on that property at one time, and that's the reason for the L-shaped property?
There was a barn.
No,
Yes, there was, because Tracy, there was an old rundown,
Yeah,
kind of
right. Well, I grew
corrugated barn.
right. I grew up with it down on Horry Street, so I
Okay,
would
yeah.
go by that way all the time, and
oh,
I just remember that there was some older. I thought it was a barn, anyways.
Yeah, when we bought the house, one of the deals we made was they had to clean it out and get rid
Right.
of it.
Okay. Well, thank you. Now I can concentrate on this. You know how you get things in your mind, you want to say, I
now
remember
where to
that.
go? Yeah.
But it's a great property, and so really a great location there. So.
Yeah.
It really is, even though we have a rebar
I was
factory
just gonna
across
say,
the
if we get rid
street.
of the rebar place, it would be even better.
Yeah, but you got the beauty of Colleton Avenue.
Oh,
so.
it's really.
And the trees.
And every tree known to mankind, just about. So.
Yeah.
Whole area, number one, but all of Aiken, number two, and you've really done a good job with that. And you've kept it, and I love how you're putting the house sort of back together again. You're getting rid of all the hodgepodge and making it a little bit more compatible, shall we say. It's a really good idea. You probably don't use that deck all that much anyway, so it's a great way, and what you're doing is just squaring the house up. Yeah, I think personally don't have any problems, any negative issues with what you've done here. I think you've done a really good job.
Yeah, you're doing a good job, and I had to do the same thing. We had an old home, and we did not have nearly enough space, so we scratched our head and came up with some ideas, and so glad we did.
Madam Chairman, may I make a comment?
Yes.
I've reviewed this packet extensively, and I appreciate that you're using full divided light, true divided light windows. Some people use simulated. I appreciate that you're going hardy, which is some people think it's a superior product. I'm some people, and you're making it work with what you have, and you're making it make sense. And as I went through the packet, me and my chairmate here, we were talking, just couldn't stop talking about you preserving the landscape and preserving the look of the house,
Yeah.
which is what we really appreciate. You're not changing the character of the house. You're not changing the character of the district, and you're working with what you have, and I commend you for that, and we thank you.
Yeah, the thought that has gone into it is obvious for those of us who are up here, and we want to make sure we appreciate it.
Oh,
Well, you can mention it to Marion too, because we've worked her very hard.
Well, and I'm okay, excuse me, I'm okay with the blue door, by the way. I saw that in the notes.
I'm still, I don't know. Anyhow, thank you.
I'm just,
I do have one comment.
Faith.
Being the architect in the group, I don't think you need that gable over your door. I think that's a mistake, actually. The gable,
The Marlboro
First
sign.
gate?
if you kept the gable that's over the door on Marlboro Street,
About this.
if you took that away and but still had the roof just coming down like you are, which was really cleaning up the elevation,
Uh-huh.
it'll step back. You'll still have that alcove,
Right.
and then you can keep that piece that's over the door right now.
The little,
Yes.
like, I don't know what you'd call that.
We were afraid, one of the things is, and there's been a lot of discussions, we didn't want a big wall.
Right.
So we're trying to break it up so that, and we thought that would add.
Yeah, that
some
doesn't
dimension
bother
up the front.
me.
I mean, we're not wed to it.
Yeah. I think because you're also, then that's a beautiful detail on the original house that is the original gable on the, what is it, the north side of that door. It's going to be difficult to put that gable into that.
Right.
It would be better if you kept it just as a straight line above there. And the roof is going to, because it is indented, the roof is going to come up. It's going to be high, the
Right.
wall will be higher. So I think that would be my only comment. I think it's a really cute door with a great overhang that's, it's
Or
just,
the existing one, yeah. Actually,
Yeah.
I think, Glenn designed that.
No, I'm not an architect. It doesn't, I sort of like it a little bit. I mean, I like it. No, the little gable.
Yeah, it's got a craftsman feel to it, the way that it's.
It adds a little bit of interest, but
Yeah.
it doesn't,
but it's still going to be, it won't be a straight line all the way across. It'll still step back.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't think
Unless
you
we
need it.
wanted it to be, I mean, I guess you could, my girlfriend designed all the foxes on that house. that
Oh, yeah?
four-way.
Really?
I was sitting there, really, I'm not allowed to talk, but so, anyhow, yeah.
But just a suggestion.
No,
Okay.
appreciate it.
Any other comments? No comments from the public, right?
The only public we have is working the systems back there.
Right. Someone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
Or unless you want to, go ahead. All right. All right. in reference to certificate application CERD 24-001092, excuse me, 92, I make a motion that we accept this based on the fact that they are compliant with all the guidelines that adhered to any design changes, and the materials used are in conforming to the standards, and the entrance doors, exit, are, is their materials there found on page 53, 66, 70, and 85 of the design review manual, and I am putting this forth for approval, Madam Chairman.
I second that, Madam Chairman, if that's okay with you.
And all in favor, raise your right hand. No disapproval, so it passes. Thank you.
Thanks.
That's what happens.
Work?
Yeah. Well, that's what happens when you answer all the questions ahead
Yeah,
of time.
Madam Chairman, may I?
Good presentation.
Yeah, it makes a big
Poor
difference.
Rebecca.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
I think she's probably very overworked and underpaid because I value.
Works very, she's a jack of all trades. She works very hard. I know every time well, we have to, planning needs to do this or something.
Pat just go.
Rebecca will do it, Rebecca will do it, Rebecca will do it.
She's got 7 children to
Make
take
a-
care of up here,
Yeah.
so.
Hey,
Motion to adjourn.
Madam Chairman, may I make a motion to adjourn this meeting?
Like
Second.
herding kindergarten.
Thank you.
All in favor?